Call to order the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, May 15th, 2025. Present at the front table to my far left is Jessica Botelli, a voting member, Ed McGargy, a voting member, Kate Meehan, our solicitor this evening, to my immediate left, Bill Rhodes, a voting member,
Good evening.
Jesse Poynton, a voting member, Jonathan Mount, Haverford Township Zoning Officer, and I'm Robert Kane, I'm a voting member. We have two decisions and two new cases tonight and some continuation requests. But before we begin, Bill, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Please rise if you can and repeat after me. Pledge allegiance.
Okay. Decision first. Case Z2510-10, Jim Miller Holdings, owner of 2228 Haverford Road, Ardmore, PA, DC folio number 2206-0106701 and 2201067002. And I'm not going to read the rest of the description into the record unless somebody specifically requests that I do so. Jesse, would you please take that decision?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, with regards to case Z25-10, I would vote to approve the requested relief with the following reasonable conditions. One, there will be no signage in the windows other than open, close, and hours of operation. Two, no illumination onto the signs other than the one that was testified to. Three, the project will be completed within 1 year and in accordance with the notes of testimony.
Bill?
I agree.
Ed?
I agree.
Jess?
I agree.
And so do I. That application is approved with those conditions, 5-0. Next decision is case Z25-18, Valerie and John Mateo, owners of 400 Brentwood Road, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2202-0005300, to seek a variance from section 182-206C7 to permit the construction of an attached deck in the rear yard setback located 12.61 feet from the rear property line where 25 feet is required. Property zone R4 and located in the 8th Ward. Ed, would you please take that decision?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I vote to approve the requested variance for the construction of a deck with the following condition. One, no walls or roof or enclosure of the deck. Two, stormwater will not impact neighboring properties. Three, the storage shed under the deck will have a gravel floor, not concrete. And four, the project will be completed within 1 year of final approval in accordance with the notes of testimony.
Okay. Jessica?
I disagree.
Bill?
I agree.
Jesse?
I agree.
And so do I. That application is approved with those conditions, 4-1. With respect to case Z20-18, an extension to the previously approved application for Sean and Amy Deal, owners of 1322 Annabelle Avenue, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2201-0008800. So, and I won't read the rest of the description into the record unless somebody specifically requested I do so. Done. So is Sean and Amy here? Come on up.
Pull the microphone closer.
Sure. Does Sean and Amy want to come up? So how much more time are you guys requesting?
Just a year to get the project done.
Okay, and when did your time expire?
November of 21.
We never proceeded with the project because of COVID.
Okay,
It never started.
It priced us out of the job completely, so.
so 1 year from today is enough time for you guys?
If you approve it today, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Any discussion? Any objections? So the completion deadline is extended to 1 year from today's date. That's it.
Do we get to cheer?
If you like.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next one, Z 24-15, Jewish Student Enrichment Center, owner of 780 and 788 College Avenue, Haverford, PA, DC folio number 2204-001340 and 2204-001350, who seek an extension of time granted for the special exception. And I won't read the rest of the description into the record unless somebody specifically requests that I do so. Hello, you want to state your name for the record?
Eli Gurevitz. Gurevitz, Gurevitz. Rabbi Eli Gurevitz. I think it's on, yeah.
Is this thing on?
Want me to spell it? Last name Gure, V as in Victor, I-T, Z as in zebra. First name Eli, E-L-I.
How are you, Eli?
Thank God, how are you? Good
Oh,
to see you
right.
all again.
Nice to see you too. So when does your time expire?
I believe June 5th is 1 year, so we got a little bit more time.
And how much more time do you think you need?
So, as of today, we have to meet the planning commission twice. Commissioners only voted in, I think, early February.
Okay.
And we just this week we purchased 788 and handed in the agreement and the civil plans to be signed. So we're kind of just ready to start the next phase. We are a nonprofit, not a traditional developer. We have to fundraise. We raised a third of the funds. So the way I look at it is the most important thing is not to start and stop and to raise 80 or 90% of the full funds to
Correct,
complete the
and that's a
job.
concern of the board. That's why
Yeah,
we
and
proposed the
so
time.
I'd rather not start and stop. So I'm going to I would love to finish this in 12 months. That would be a miracle for that. But even 2 years, I think we'll be done by then. But I'm wondering if it's too much to ask for 3 years, just so I don't have, in case things.
It is. But, I mean, do you think you'll be able to complete it in 18?
I would like to think so, but there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now with the market.
So 2 years is probably what you really need?
I mean, I think so. I guess I could always come back. When you say complete, you mean like,
Certificate of occupancy.
I mean, even 2 years is ambitious, but I'd like to say yes, but I guess I could always come back if that doesn't happen.
I mean, I think we can only give two.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we normally give one, right? So,
All right, so obviously, we'd rather you not start and stop and start and stop.
Yeah.
You know, the whole time limit imposition is designed to protect neighbors from
Right.
those, not that you would, obviously you wouldn't, because you haven't, would start and delay a project and the neighbors have to look at a half-completed addition or whatever the case may be. So trusting that you won't do that, because you haven't, we'll extend this 2 years from today's date. And if you need to come back, you need to come back, but
Yeah.
please try to finish it within the 2.
yeah, I would also suggest that if you get to the point where you know you're going to need more, you don't have to wait to so close to your expiration date. You could come back earlier and lay out the construction schedule that you know and all that, and maybe we could revisit then early, and figure out what you're really going to need once you really know.
I mean, the goal is that once we put a shovel on the ground, it's 12 months
Right.
max. I mean, hopefully 10, but I'm saying 12 because everyone says. So, yeah, no, listen, more than anyone else here, I hope it's done in 12 months, maybe 15, but 2 years sounds like I hope we could do it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Any other discussion? No. All right, so the completion date is extended by 2 years. And we'll start it with the original completion date, so it'll run concurrent, or consecutive,
June.
rather. So it'll begin June 5th. So 2 years from June 5th.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Take care, Eli. Have a good night. So that's 2 years from 6/5. All right. Moving right along. The first continued case this evening is Z25-19, Sproul Development Partners LLC, owners of 1039 Sproul Road, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2204-00661100, who seek a variance, and this is quite a lengthy description, and I've read it into the record several times, so unless someone specifically requests that I read the entire description into the record, I won't. Okay. Cameron?
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Cameron Wolfson with Riley, Riper, Holland, and Collet Greco. We are attorneys for the applicant. As noted, this is a continuance from the May 1st hearing. To begin tonight, we would like to recall both of our witnesses, beginning with Mr. Bloomfield, to respond to some of the comments that were raised during the last hearing. We also have two additional exhibits that are marked as Exhibit A11 and A12, which I will distribute to the board momentarily. But finally, I'd just like to ask for the board's permission, after our witness testimony and questioning, if I can just give a closing statement to kind of succinctly sum up the last two hearings that were tonight and May 1st.
Okay.
Just provide
Who do you want to bring up first, Paul?
Mr. Bloomfield, yes.
And you were sworn at the last hearing, Paul, so you're still under oath.
Understood. Good evening. Paul Bloomfield.
Sorry, Arlene, I forgot you weren't there.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Cameron.
Thank you. Paul, during the initial hearing, there were some concerns that were raised regarding the placement of some accessory structures, such as decks and patios, on the proposed lots. Can you confirm that these issues were discussed at the Planning Commission meeting held on February 13th, 2025, and that you are actively working with the Township Planning Commission and ultimately the Board of Commissioners to address this?
Yes, and we do intend to include decks in these projects.
Did you direct Cornerstone Consulting to prepare Exhibit A11, which is a color site rendering titled Subdivision Plan dated January 2nd,
Yes, I did.
2025?
Yes.
And last revised May 15, 2025. We'll bring up Exhibit A11 on the screen for reference. We got it, John. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Move that around. Does Exhibit A11 shown here illustrate the proposed placement of these accessory structures such as some decks and patios?
Yes, it does. We made some minor adjustments to things and wanted to make sure we had enough room for these sorts of things.
And as can you point out just generally where those are located?
Yeah, the upper portion of the site, on each home, there's a darker brown rectangular area there that's meant to represent either a deck space or a possible addition to the original footprint. And again, these have yet to be designed for each site. So once these are underway, we would be designing a home that fits each plot more precisely. But yeah, we were anticipating to be able to have these sort of things to expand from the original footprint.
And as you kind of referenced, but just to clarify, is Exhibit A11 subject to further modification based on ongoing input and feedback from the township consultants, the Planning Commission, and the Board of Commissioners?
Yes, it is.
If the board were to approve the requested relief tonight, would the applicant be willing to accept a condition requiring it to work in good faith to the best of its ability with the Township Planning Commission and the Board of Commissioners prior to final plan approval to address the potential placement of future accessory structures such as the patios and decks and to resolve any outstanding concerns related to the lot configuration and density?
Absolutely.
I also want to address some concerns that were raised at the prior hearing
I
regarding.
have a quick question, Cameron. I just want to interject. So would the addition of the darker shaded areas require you to obtain any additional zoning or township approval, or would those be by right if we approve this plan?
It would not. That would be by right. It's subject to certain modifications, as Mr. Bloomfield noted.
Okay,
Their
go ahead.
intention is to keep those, but they may change as as they continue. And so to address some concerns that were raised about the number of lots that were proposed at the last hearing, can you confirm whether the applicant has considered alternative lot configurations and explain why ultimately they did propose the 4 lots that are?
Yeah, in our original analysis, our approach to this, we looked at all sorts of alternatives, including ones that had more than this density and ones that had less than this density. Given the unique characteristics of the site, we have to do a certain amount to improve access to the site regardless. And so that's a significant amount of work that needs to take place. And if we were to build a smaller number of homes, that cost has to be shared by those homes. So that would lead us to building even larger homes and maybe possibly more crowded on the site. The the fact is, the profitability is not the driving factor that led us to this four-home solution. And in fact, your building costs per square foot go down on a larger home, for example. So there are other factors involved. So yeah, the density is just as a result of our analysis, trying to find something that ended up creating something that's more in context with the surrounding properties. The sizes of the homes are not going to dwarf the ones in the area. The sizes of the lots are similar to the ones that are surrounding this.
And as you mentioned, you took into consideration the lot sharing of responsibility for some of these improvements that are proposed. So I'd like to ask, if the board were to approve the application and the variances and special exceptions requested, would the applicant be willing to accept a condition that requires you to establish a maintenance agreement and cross easements as applicable for the shared access drive, the retaining wall, and stormwater management facilities that are located between the lots?
Absolutely, that's our intention.
And at the previous hearing, there was some concern raised about the height of the proposed retaining wall, which is now currently proposed at 7 feet at its highest point. Is it your understanding that the existing slope along the property's frontage, it currently measures approximately 12 to 15 feet in height?
Yes.
In light of that, is it your opinion that reducing the grade and constructing the proposed retaining wall would create a safer condition than what currently exists?
Yes, I do think it would be safer, not the least of which the possibility of a fall wouldn't land you into Sproul Road at this point.
Right.
So.
And notwithstanding the proposed improvements, would the applicant be amenable to a
And
condition?
wait, Cameron, you said it would not
So-
cause you to fall on the Sproul Road at this point.
So
You mean right now?
What I mean is currently the edge of that road is a really steep, sharp slope. And if you were to fall down there, you would end up on the shoulder of the road. We're proposing pulling this grade back. That retaining wall is coming back from the edge of the road, in a sense, creating a smaller front yard in front of that retaining wall that's not directly adjacent to the pavement.
Okay.
And notwithstanding the proposed improvements and pushing the retaining wall back, would the applicant be amenable to a condition that requires the installation of zoning compliant safety features such as hedges or other appropriate measures that would be on top of the proposed retaining wall to ensure the safety concerns of people?
Yes, either on top or behind that retaining wall
Yes.
to try to prevent people from being able to walk up to the back edge of that wall at all.
And does Exhibit A11 illustrate the proposed hedges and vegetation there?
Yes.
And just finally, last question for you. Do you believe that the proposed development will result in an overall improvement to the property itself, the surrounding properties, and the conditions for the vehicles that travel along this section of Sproul Road each day?
This has been a vacant property for a very long time. The previous owner had tried to sell this for over 20 years, I believe. So right now, that leaves a potentially unsafe situation. I've encountered myself, a homeless person camped out in the existing abandoned home before we made the decision to remove it. This could be a place for people to hang out. So we're taking an unused parcel and developing it into a viable, code compliant several lot development here that will produce tax revenue for the township. We've also, in the process of doing this, we're agreeing to provide things for this site, but that will also benefit the neighboring area, stormwater management facilities that will protect Sproul Road and Darby Creek. We're adding sewer facilities that would be available for our homes, but also any other neighbors along that area of Sproul Road. We're adding a fire hydrant at the request of the township. We're improving access for emergency vehicles up and down, and we're contributing to the fund for recreation space in the township because of the number of lots that are being provided.
In addition to the sightline improving, is that correct, throughout Sproul Road?
Yeah, well, that's the biggest thing, and that's what's prompting most of these requests for relief, is we're meeting the PennDOT requirements for creating a sight line that's going to add that safety for both people passing along Sproul and also people coming in and out of this site.
Thank you, Paul. That's all I have for Paul, and I'll have John, our next witness, walk through the plans more technically.
Okay,
If you have
but
any-
first,
Yes.
question, Billy?
You mentioned the shared management agreement for the shared driveway, stormwater management, and what was the third item?
I'll
The
repeat.
retaining wall.
The retaining wall. So who's going to take care of you said the little front lawn that will be in
I would
front?
consider that part of the retaining
So-
wall area. So yeah, there would be some common interest in maintaining that part.
So it's going to cover landscaping too?
From the retaining wall to the road, yes, because that's line of sight has to be maintained long-term. What's happened over time is all these volunteer trees have come up and it's created an unsafe condition. So we need ground cover there, but it would have to be maintained low enough that the sight line is maintained. So yes, that area would be subject to some sort of landscape maintenance that would be shared.
I have some other follow-up questions, but I think it's probably better for the engineer, so
Okay.
I'll wait.
All right, wait, Jesse?
No, I appreciate the illuminating us on the, the expansion areas that we talked about last time and the addition of the hedges at the top of the wall. I don't have any other questions at this time.
Jessica?
I have a question about the trees that were added by the driveway right up on Sproul Road. Will those not impede the sight line as you're turning out or coming around?
So they haven't been added. After our Shade Tree Commission meeting, we learned that our survey was incorrect. So we've revisited the site, we've updated it and made it more accurate. And we've also left those trees that are existing trees now in place. So they're showing up on your drawing for the first time, but those are existing trees that we are hoping to be able to limb and be able to see sort of between and behind. You can see the wall and the sight line area that we really require is actually further down the road, and a driver would be able to see behind those trees to some extent and hopefully through them. So we're leaving them in place for now. If PennDOT comes along and says, no, we really do still have to remove some of these, there may be more removals required, but we're trying to leave as many trees as we can. This whole plan has been updated in that regard. So many of the trees, like, for example, along the approach of the driveway as you enter the site, those are existing trees that we're going to be able to maintain. So I know the engineer can talk a little bit more about the placement of those things, but we went through tree by tree to figure out which ones are actually in the right place and which ones we can preserve.
And then the maintenance agreement, is that going to include the far front yard of that first lot that's
So-
by the drive?
We'll have to determine where it starts and stops, whatever's appropriate. Yeah, the lowest portion of the driveway, it may make sense to have that, just a continuation of that sort of front yard, frontmost section of the property all the way across Sproul.
Okay, I'm just concerned that the first, 40 feet of this lot will not be maintained by anyone without that being a
That
part
makes
of the
sense.
maintenance agreement. So you'd be willing to
Yeah, we'd be willing
add that
to
in? Okay.
place a condition.
I don't have
or-
any other
yeah.
questions.
Is that it, Jess? Ed?
I have no question.
All right, Cameron, what was that first condition that you suggested?
Certainly. So that would be in reference to the lot configuration and density. So the applicant is willing to work with the Township Planning Commission and Board of Commissioners to further work through any comments or concerns that they have. Right now, they are code compliant, but certainly to the best of their ability, they're in good faith. They are
And it's that kind of language that concerns me, because how does that get enforced?
well,
Best efforts, and I get it, I know what it means, but
Well, just simply to say that there's no enforcement required since it's code compliant, but we understand that the zoning hearing board has some concerns that they don't necessarily like the way that it sounded like from last hearing that they would like to see some changes. And we're saying that we're willing to work with the planning commission if they have any comments with that. I mean, certainly it is code compliant and we're sticking by that, but we are willing to work with them.
okay. So, nothing to note there. Thank you, Paul.
All right.
John, you want to just state your full name and the capacity at which you appear for the record?
Sure. My name is,
You were sworn at the last hearing, you're still under oath.
yes, sir. My name is John Anderson, Anderson. I work for Cornerstone Consulting Engineers and Design Services. We are the civil engineers for the project.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Cameron.
John, did your office prepare Exhibit A11, the color site rendering that is shown on the screen here?
Yes, we did.
And does Exhibit A11 represent an updated version of the plan that was previously introduced as Exhibit A5 at the prior hearing?
Yes, it does.
And we heard some of the updates that Paul mentioned, but I'd appreciate if you could walk through specifically everything that was modified on this plan.
Yes, so the major difference is what Mr. Bloomfield alluded to earlier, is the fact that we went back and resurveyed the existing trees on the site, and then we made some modifications primarily to the entrance drive of the main entrance to the subdivision. So just for clarification, the existing trees are the ones that are kind of lightly shaded with a different type of icon for the tree itself. The more brightly colored trees are proposed. So as we proceed up the entrance drive, it's, again, as we testified previously, it's in the same location as the existing entrance to the single-family home. The width of it remains the same as we proceed up into the site. The difference is we start to neck down into a narrow, we start at 20 feet wide and we neck down to 15, and we wind through those existing trees. And that's the main modification to the entrance drive. What we're trying to do is preserve the existing trees on either side of the entrance. We know that we may have some discussions with the Township Shade Tree Commission on the preservation of those trees, and we will do our best to keep them because they're nice, substantial trees in that location. And then as the driveway goes up into the site, it widens back out to 20 feet wide in the area as we proceed up into the site. Another main difference is we eliminated the turnaround space that is on the left-hand side of the main drive as we enter the property, and these existing trees that were originally shown as to be removed and encroachment into steep slopes in that area has all been eliminated, and we're maintaining those existing trees on the property. Another main difference in the project, as it was testified just a few seconds ago, was the fact that we've added some additional building area that could be either exterior decks or patios on the buildings. Again, there are other areas that can be extended, or if the locations that we're showing aren't desirable to a new homeowner or when it gets designed, there are other areas surrounding the buildings that can be either expanded or developed. Another main aspect of the revision to the plan is previously rendition, we had stormwater management basins in the backs of the property. Of this particular lot is lot 1, that is furthest back, and then the one next to it to the right is lot 4. We previously had 2 detention basins in the back there. To handle that, we feel that we can relocate them towards the front of the buildings, one in the front of the building for lot 1. And the second one, we were always showing a detention basin for lot 4 up in the front. We can expand that. However, we are cognizant that the neighbor to the right is concerned about stormwater runoff running off to that property, and we will make sure that stormwater does not enter their property, which is against township ordinances, and any overflow will proceed down towards Sproul Road in a controlled manner.
John, I don't see an outlet from that stormwater management facility for lot 4. Where will, if it is overwhelmed, where will it dump out, and where is that? How are you going to control it, as you just said?
Sure. So right now, what we're designing these for is 100% infiltration. So
Right,
we're
but
storing the 100.
Yeah, we know we have a lot of clay soil in this
Correct.
township, and things don't necessarily perk well.
So when we design these, we look at the 100-year storm elevation, and then the inlet that we want to allow for any additional stormwater to exit would be the lowest inlet. And so for lot 4, right now it's shown in this location here. The contouring, and we can show it on the next exhibit, but the contouring basically sheet flows down towards Sproul Road.
Right.
And so if it does bubble out of this inlet or exceed the capacity of the storm basin, it won't proceed to the neighboring property to the right. Lot 1, in the same manner, we will design this in the same way, that it would come out the inlet that's located closer to Sproul Road, and then we'll design a swale system that in the extent that it overflows, we'll swale it down between these properties in a
So
controlled manner.
where you're planning to pierce the steep slope with these utilities, and I'll come back to that, you're now going to have a swale in there too?
Well, again, we don't want to increase our encroachment of the steep slopes, and we can control these with inlets. The site drops in a fairly steep manner, as
Yeah.
we've shown you before. So if we have to provide additional piping, we can provide that piping in a manner that would not increase our steep slopes, encroachment, and we could come down into this basin. This basin was always shown in this location. The main change to this basin is our outfall was an actual piped outfall from the end of the right end of the basin into Sproul Road's collection system. We relocated it to the left. We had talked at the previous hearing of possibly combining all the utilities, but it makes sense that this particular basin discharges in a piped manner into the pipe system of Sproul Road. It's within the area that we're already encroaching with the expansion of the entrance drive or the modifications of the entrance drive. So that all being said, we can relocate some piping or add some piping as it comes down there that doesn't encroach into any additional steep slopes, but potentially takes it from a sheet flow manner or a swale manner into a pipe manner. However, it is usually DEP's and the conservation district's desire and the township's desire that we try to provide these overflows in a grassline swale to promote infiltration. And
Even in steep slopes?
well, again, we'd have to make sure that we're designing it properly.
So the idea would be if you had to, you would put a connecting line between the outflow for Lot 1 stormwater management and then connect it into what appears to be the shared system between Lots 2 and 3 that are dumping into the stormwater management facility near the bottom of the driveway?
That's a potential. We're still examining that. And again, we're not proposing any additional variance relief as far as this is for this project. So there's still some vetting to do with the stormwater management.
Yeah, only question is whether if the decision is to do a swale, whether you need to come back to us because it will be a greater, intrusion into the steep slope.
Correct. And what I'm trying to say tonight is no, we don't want to come back, and we're not coming back.
Well, wait a second. You didn't ask for variance for it.
That's correct.
So if you need it, if it's determined to be needed, you are going to come back for a variance, aren't you?
If it's determined to be needed, however, we've looked at different manner prior to coming here this evening, and we think we could design it without coming back for any additional relief.
And if you determined that you need to create a swale in the steep slope, then you will come back? Or do you want to amend your application to increase the variances being requested to include a swale now? And I don't know if you can do it, because we haven't given notice.
Well, right now, we're not proposing that, so I don't think it would be appropriate at this time, but I think given Mr. Anderson's testimony, it sounds like there are alternatives that we can avoid asking for that relief by designing the bill appropriately.
And that wasn't my question. My question was, if you find out that you need it, then you'll come back.
If we need to revise the plan and there's no other alternative, that's the only option.
Thank you.
That it, Bill?
I have some other questions I'd like to go over, if you could. So have you run this plan past the fire marshal because you're necking down the road to 15 feet? And I don't know that we haven't seen any analysis of the turnaround for fire apparatus. It's obviously already a steep hill to get them up there. So I would hope that you've already broached that. Do you want to talk about your discussions and whether you're getting a sign off from the fire marshal?
We have not submitted this as a formal submission to the planning, or as part of the land development application for a full review. However, our intent is to only neck down a portion of this that is not up to Lot 2's building that we're showing here, and it would expand out as we proceed up to provide for the necessary width of an access road for the extension arms if it's needed for a ladder truck or.
So if we were to grant an approval, subject to a condition that you will have a written approval of this by the fire marshal, that would be okay?
That's absolutely okay. And to further expound on that, I mean, it would be required for land development and subdivision approval.
So where would be a fire hydrant? I don't know that I've ever seen a fire hydrant, whether it's an existing one nearby or whatever. Where is the closest fire hydrant, or where would you propose to install one?
Typically, we would install a fire hydrant near the entrance, and we are proposing, that was one of the suggestions from the fire marshal, was that this development would need a fire hydrant. We would typically relocate them right along the main, right where the entrance into the facility is, in an appropriate location. Occasionally, they ask us to put one further up into the site, and if that's deemed necessary by the fire marshal as part of the land development, we'd be required to do that.
And then, I'm a little concerned about the necking down to 15 feet. I realize that it may not be the whole way, but I would point out that it doesn't matter. Once you neck it down at all, even if you come back up, they still have to navigate the neck, right?
That's true, and as part of pretty much all of the land development applications, subdivision applications that I've been involved in, we always provide turning movements, truck turning movements, fire truck, emergency services vehicles, trash trucks, and so forth. And we provide those turning movements to show that the access drive is designed properly.
Okay. And then I wanted to ask, on your paving plan, will you do a course-based pave before any heavy vehicles, excavation begins, anything is brought to site? What is the plan to make sure that that road doesn't turn into a mud hill and you can't even get cars up?
So this would be designed in accordance with the Conservation District's requirements for extensive erosion and sedimentation control due to the steepness of the slope and the receiving water courses. And so what that means is there's additional erosion and sedimentation control measures that will be required by the Conservation District and also the township. That will involve extended construction entrance driveways that meet the elevated controls for storm, soil erosion and sediment control. We would then discuss with the contractor, and typically we do end up preparing some sort of construction plan that identifies those areas. We're required to do a construction entrance, we'll do a wash rack and so forth associated with the construction entrance. And then if there's a necessary extension of that needs to be base paved, then that would be part of the initial construction prior to any major earth movement.
So if we required as a condition that there be base course paving all the way up before you start excavation or construction, that would be okay.
There's an existing driveway here already, too.
But it doesn't go all the way up.
I mean, I think,
It does look really muddy and dirty right now. I drove by it the other day, right?
Driveways. We're open to, whatever makes sense. We've already established a short construction entrance there to help clean the vehicles that are exiting the site as of now. And the existing paving has been in use for whatever purposes we've been dealing with at this point. The current driveway goes up 70% of the way that we would need it to be. So, yeah, we could certainly agree that before we excavate, the back lots there, that we have an actual surface that the vehicles can suitably use.
And then I wanted to ask a question, and we talked about this a little bit. I just wanted to make sure we were clear. Someone had asked a question previously about why not a cul-de-sac? And let me just ask real straight up. Did you not go the cul-de-sac route because you would have needed a different set of variances for the width of the front yards? Is that, or other front yard setback requirements or whatever? So why not a cul-de-sac?
I think we would need the same variances because most of these are about the sight line. So I think the only one that may be different is the property line crossing the retaining wall, but that probably would have also had the same sort of concern. The cul-de-sac itself requires a large turnaround that creates restrictions about how the shapes of the lots can be, and it actually was more difficult to come up with a suitable arrangement of the plots that left a reasonable area around each home and so forth. So it takes up some of the area just for paving that we don't need to account for with stormwater and so on. So this plan has less paving overall, more green space, and more space around the homes.
Okay, thanks.
Jesse?
Is the hydrant that you referred to, is that going to be a public hydrant or a private hydrant?
typically, when it's located within the right-of-way, it would be installed by the developer, and it is a public hydrant. And there are required fees associated with that for the install of that, and that would be borne by the developer.
Because you also mentioned that it might end up being further up, and then made me think that it might.
Not the primary one. If they require a secondary
second
one, and most likely the secondary one would be a private hydrant.
Okay, I understand. So, right, because you had testified, or there was testimony earlier that the fire hydrant would be part of the overall improvement to the area, so that's why I was asking. Where would residents leave their trash? Would that be would there be an area at the bottom of the drive to accommodate trash cans?
Initially, our thought is to provide an area where the trash truck can enter into the site and would be able to access and pull up into lot 4, back up, and then turn around. But they would access the individual lots themselves with a designated area for trash, but we wouldn't have a designated area down below near Sproul Road. We thought that would create a not ideal situation from a trash truck either stopping on Sproul Road or right at the entrance.
But this is a private drive. You're going to get, the township's going to, is this private trash removal then? You expect the township to drive up onto your private driveway to pull your trash off? I don't think that's what they do.
Okay.
I would look into that as part of your due diligence. I don't see that happening. And same with mail. Is that, I mean, would there be mailboxes at the bottom of the driveway as well?
That may be a requirement of the post office.
I don't have any other questions.
I do before you go on, if you don't mind. Of the utility lines that are piercing the steep slopes, how many of them are there now?
There's one. So the utility line in this location is what you're referring to. There's a gas line and there's an existing water line. There may be multiple water lines. As it comes up from Sproul Road, there's 3 water meters in this location. One fed the existing or the previously demolished home, and there's 2 lines that proceed in this direction. One feeds this house, and the other water line comes up and feeds this dwelling. They come up through these steep slopes currently today.
And rather than add to that, why not run any new lines down along or under the driveway? So that you're only exacerbating the steep slopes along the driveway and you're not making the problem worse in the existing water and gas line.
So our thought was, from a water standpoint, was to mitigate any major impacts to the water line that comes across the subject parcel that feeds this home and this home, that we would come and bring a main, a relative main up through the property, but then most likely these would connect into that. So that would limit the the disruption of service for these folks. If we come up in this fashion, which is, it's a good idea. There's nothing wrong with the suggestion. However, we're still going to have to deal with the existing water lines in this location, and it may be something that we bring a main up and then we tie over to here. But
So and I'm trying to figure out where the need is here. So if you can go up the driveway, why wouldn't you just go up the driveway and leave the hill alone?
Are you saying that the utilities that are existing today would need to be improved either way?
well, the existing water lines that, again, this house is demolished, so that doesn't really matter at this point. So these existing water lines would have to be dealt with for the construction of this retaining wall.
Right.
Is it possible to run the main up to feed these homes up along the entrance drive? Yes.
Thank you.
There are some areas of steep slope along that existing driveway as well. There's almost none in a straight line up between lot 2 and 3. The very steep slope is right at the edge of Sproul Road, and then there's a little bit of a change, obviously, where the retaining wall is. But from that point back, there's really an opportunity to run a line through an area that does not have steep slopes, unlike the driveway, which would require coming back into Sproul Road through a very steep slope, up along Sproul Road, and then through the driveway through a partially steep area. So it's not less intrusive to do it that way. It's longer.
I brought up Exhibit A7 from last hearing, but you can maybe point out exactly what you're describing there. It would require running along the property frontage, correct?
Yeah, so the very darkest area is the very steep slope right along the edge of the road. And some of that is going to be amended if we can create the sightline that we need. But the residual very steep slope is right at the edge of the road where these utilities are entering the site. So for us to enter the site at a different location, we'd have to work on both of those locations to undo the water lines and the gas lines that are currently in existence, and then excavate along the roadway and enter in a new location along the driveway further risking the life of the trees along the driveway. And as that driveway is expanded across that portion of the steep slope, we'd still have that to contend with. So there's very little steep slope area if we come straight up through the center of the site, except right in the area that we're already amending to create a non-steep slope below that retaining wall.
So this exhibit A7, which shows the red crossing out of all the trees you're going to cut down, the driveway currently threads the needle on some of these steep slopes, appropriately so.
It needs to be widened a bit.
Yeah. And so you'd rather save one tree when you're cutting down 50 or 25 or whatever all these things are, and further pierce the steep slope to save a tree?
The trees have to be removed to create a sight line to make this a safe condition. So that's the bulk of the work that's being.
But I thought you just testified that one of the reasons was that you're trying to save a couple trees on either side of the driveway where it's narrow.
I'm saying that to do the utilities the way you suggest would require as much or more intrusion into the steep slope areas.
And where exactly would that be, other than right here at the bottom of the driveway, where we would be dealing with that problem anywhere? If you went right up the driveway, based on this exhibit, you would thread the needle between the gray shaded areas, and you'd bring the utilities right up along the
You'd
driveway.
also still be doing the work right where we're proposing doing the work of undoing the utilities that are already there.
Okay, well, the water line isn't connected to the house on the property any longer, or the gas line's not, I'm sorry. And the water line is running for two properties off-site. So that's a problem for you to deal with about interfering with neighbors' water lines. I'm talking about for this project. Why make the steep slope problem worse when you seem to have a solution that on balance, it could go up the driveway and we could leave the hill alone?
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, was that a question?
No, just
didn't
sounds
seem to
like we're in agreement that there is a way that they could install these utility lines without going through the steep slope, or as much steep slope,
Except that they're already in a steep slope.
at the very bottom. We're going to
That's the
deal
only
with
place
it.
that has a steep slope, if
Right.
you look at that exhibit. So I've made my point.
Well, maybe it'll be helpful if we go to Exhibit A12, because we actually we touched on that a little bit. Perfect. John, was your office responsible for the preparation of Exhibit A12, the grading exhibit plan?
Yes.
dated May 15th, 2025?
Yes, I was.
Can you describe to the board what Exhibit A12 is depicting and its purpose relating to the steep slopes along the frontage and the relocated utilities?
Right, so at the last hearing, I think there was a lot of discussion of impacts to the steep slopes, how they were going to be mitigated, what's going to be left after construction. So we tried to we prepared this exhibit to show basically where the very steep slopes would be removed with the grading associated with the retaining wall, where the very steep and steep slopes would remain, and where and how the utility lines would be run along the frontage of the property. So again, to orient everybody, the darker shaded area is the very, very steep slopes, and the light shaded is just the steep slope area. The sight line is shown right about here, and it extends along the frontage, right in front of the retaining wall. And the grading, the proposed grades that tie into the existing grading along Sproul Road is right in front of the retaining wall, and we've removed. So after construction, the dark shaded areas would actually be gone, because this area is now level graded to provide for the sight line across the left hand the southerly direction sight line for the oncoming traffic. And as you can see, that this dark shaded area is removed to show that this is now going to be more of a level area. There will be a portion along the roadway that remains untouched, and these are the trees in those locations that we're hopeful to save. And then the idea is that, similar to a utility pole that's within a sight distance, that a tree could be limbed up and then remain, and you can see through the trees. one of the facets of PennDOT's approval for site distance would be that they would come out and inspect this. There's a potential that several of these trees may end up coming down associated with that, but we're hopeful to try and save the trees along the roadway, especially these specimen trees. The trees that are more dense as we get into the higher steep slopes in this area, they would obviously have to come down. What we're also showing is not the relocation, but the location of the sewer line. Originally, on the plans that were originally submitted, we showed a sewer connection across the steep slopes, more, I would say, perpendicular to Sproul Road. However, since we're regrading this area, we thought it would be more pragmatic to move the sanitary line within the area that's being graded to a further point down on Sproul Road, and then the sewer line would continue down to the sewer interceptor at the bottom of the hill. The idea of that would be less encroachment into Sproul Road and less disturbance of Sproul Road for the sewer main.
So to clarify, I think this might touch on what we were discussing previously. The post-development grading that is shown here would be far less encroachment into the very steep slope after you grade as a PennDOT requirement through the site funders. Is that correct?
Yes.
And John, just a couple of quick questions remaining. Is it your opinion that the zoning relief requested today is directly attributable to the unique physical characteristics of the property, including the presence of steep and very steep slopes, the existing access drive, and the irregular frontage that necessitates significant modifications to achieve compliance?
Yes.
At the last hearing, you may remember that we unfortunately were running short on time, so we weren't able to fully address the specific special exception standards that relate to our requests to install portions of sanitary sewer facilities and the access driveway within areas of steep slope. Now that we have some additional time, John, I'd like to just briefly walk through the applicable special exception criteria to ensure that we have addressed all the necessary standards for the requested relief. Are you familiar with the special exception standards set forth in section 184-1004.a(2) of the zoning ordinance?
Yes, I am.
And is the property suitable for the residential use that is being proposed?
Yes, I believe it is. We've designed this in accordance with the R1A zoning district, and the homes comply with all applicable bulk and area requirements.
And in your opinion, if approved, will these special exceptions substantially injure or detract from the use of neighboring property or from the character of the neighborhood?
No, I don't. We're trying to improve the site distance for this existing driveway, whether it be one home or four homes, and the resultant improvement of the site distance along Sproul Road would actually benefit the neighboring properties.
In your opinion, will the proposed special exceptions serve the best interest of the township, the convenience of the community, and the public welfare?
Yes, we've testified that the various improvements associated with site distance, additional utility or sewer mains within Sproul Road that are not only going to service this property, but also potentially other properties, yes, it would be a benefit to the community.
And in your opinion, will the proposed special exceptions, again, just talking about the access drive and the sanitary sewer and steep slope, will that have any adverse effect on the logical, efficient, or economical extension of public services and facilities?
No, it would not.
Are there unique circumstances justifying the special exception that were not created by the owner of the property or due to the result of general conditions?
Yeah, yes, we've testified previously that there are unique characteristics, the curvature of Sproul Road, the steepness of Sproul Road in this area, the steepness of the lot has created this request for the special exception.
And finally, is there adequate sewer and water to serve the property as proposed?
Yes.
That's all the questions that I have for John.
Right. Ed, did you have any questions for?
Yes, I did. I'm looking at the plan, and you've changed some things in regard to stormwater management. Let me just clarify on, because it's very difficult to see on the small plan, but you have lot number 3, and the developed area of that lot, even though it slopes down towards Sproul Road, it's your intent to capture the drainage from the swales surrounding the house into inlets that take it to the infiltration bed. Is that correct?
That's correct. The primary stormwater management facility for those lots, that would be lot 2 and 3, is located in this area to the right, or plan right, of the driveway, and it's located right here.
So they're from the driveway and the house, all that extra runoff that would come from the impervious is going to be directed to the infiltration building and not to the steep and very steep slopes.
That is correct.
Okay, on the other one, I'm a little concerned. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I heard testimony. Is it you have designed these facilities to infiltrate the entire 100-year storm?
That's correct.
Okay. What about the idea, and it shouldn't, I don't know how it'll affect, but you have drainage that used to go down to the rear of the property, and now it's going to be diverted over to the one CB, but how do you intend to do that? I don't see any inlets or...
Well, again, this exhibit was created to show that we're going to be relocating those detention basins. We haven't submitted a full land development to show all the collection facilities. We're not asking, we think we can design the system so that it does not encroach any additional steep slopes. In this location, there aren't any steep slopes up in this area, so we can pipe all the roof leaders from the homes and swale to for lot 1 would be the basin in the front of the home, and lot 4 would be the basin also in the front of the home. There's only a small area here that would discharge over land, and that would be what we call stormwater bypass, and that would just bypass as it normally would if this development or this property wasn't developed in that area. But the primary collection would be through roof leaders, or capture the roof of the structures, and also strategic inlets in lot 1 and lot 4 that would pipe that water to the underground basins.
Okay, as the infiltration basin on lot number 4, I do not agree with your assessment that the contours slope down directly to Sproul Road and not through the neighbor's property. Am I missing something? You would have to go through the neighbor's property to get to Sproul Road.
I see where you're getting at. And again, we're trying to show that we are going to be relocating the stormwater management facilities. Again, you point out an obvious issue, and we wouldn't be directing any stormwater. We're not looking to encroach into any additional steep slopes. And we recognize that the modification would need to be through a full revision of the land development subdivision set to the township.
Do you know the township requires even the discharge of stormwater above and beyond the 100-year storm as to be something that needs to be considered in the steep slope ordinance? I mean, the conservation district or the NPDS regulations would not require, anything above the 10-year storm is not regulated for the discharge.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
Our job here on the zoning is to look at discharges of stormwater and how it's going to disturb steep slopes and try to minimize that. I'm not sure that the requirement for the township, is there a limit on what type of stormwater would be, if you infiltrate the whole entire 100-year storm, the township still consider that a impact to the steep slopes?
Basically, we'd be complying with your township stormwater management ordinances. In addition to that, we will be disturbing more than 1 acre of this project, which would require an NPDS permit. So it's also typically the state requirements are more stringent than your township stormwater requirements, and we'd have to comply with that.
Let me ask it another way. The discharge, if there were a discharge from the infiltration basin on lot 4, is now going to be directed away from the house and directly to the very steep slope along Sproul Road. Do you anticipate that that would cause any damage to that slope?
It would be something in excess of a 100-year storm, and so we're not required.
That's fine, too. I can't figure out whether or not that's a thing that the ordinance pertains, addresses. I don't know.
It does not. However, your township engineer will review any overflow from those basins and make sure that it's handled in an appropriate manner.
Gotcha. Okay, that's all I have.
Yes?
I don't have any questions.
Cameron, is that it?
Yes, that's all the questions I have.
And nothing else? Jesse?
Yeah, just, I wanted to go over the fire truck turning radius. Have you looked at that at all? Because I'm wondering if it's gonna, once you look at it, is it gonna add additional impervious, or do you think you have enough where if you had to add additional drive or, impervious surface, will you be covered for that?
So most likely, if, pertaining to Exhibit A7, as you can see, there's no steep slopes up in this area where we would be designing for any of those fire truck turnarounds. So if there's any additional impervious coverage associated with drive lanes that would allow for larger turning radii, we can add that without violating in the zoning ordinance with respect to impervious coverage.
Okay, so you would remain under the maximum impervious coverage then?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, Cameron, anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, I'd just like to add that first, we'd like to thank the board for its time and its thoughtful consideration of our application. And we truly do appreciate the feedback and the comments that have been provided throughout this process. As you heard today, we've adjusted many things, including the utilities along the frontage. We've included some decks and patios in there to show that that would be compliant with the code. And certainly, as we testified today, we believe that we are truthfully improving this property to be safer, more code compliant, to have better travel along Sproul Road, and to be an economically productive parcel in this township where now it is a vacant and has been vacant for over 25 years. Again, we'd just like to thank the board for their time and their thoughtful comments, and appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right. With that, I'll go through the public soliloquy.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to formally admit the two exhibits that we included today.
I don't think you moved for the admission of A1 through 10, so why don't we do A1 through 12, right?
Yes, I believe, yeah, exactly, thank you.
Okay. A1 through A12 are admitted. With that, I'll ask if there's anyone present that received certified mail that wishes to testify. Anyone that received regular mail? Any other residents of Haverford Township? Ladies first.
Good evening.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Then your full name and address, please.
My name is Meg Hessen at 3940 Darby Road. Sure, it's Hessen at 3940 Darby Road, which is the property that is at the top adjacent to the proposed development. And I also represent my husband, Scott Hessen, who could not be here tonight because of another meeting. But we have a couple concerns. I guess first, just briefly, I'd like to mention that we are one of the water lines that's been discussed, and we are very anxious to have as little disruption to that water line as possible. So just putting that out there. The second issue is most of the conversation has focused on steep slopes, and I understand that, but there is also a slope down into our property. It doesn't, the criteria are not steep slope, but there's a definite slope from the property under development into our property, and I have concerns about water drainage from, across that hill, because we are contending with a significant amount of water drainage from two new properties on Darby Road, which the water just, they've elevated the paved surface of the house that is beside us, and the water just sheets down across our driveway. It's dug trenches in our driveway. It's also washed all their grass seed into my ivy bed, which is very tedious to weed at this point. So I'm concerned as to what, if anything, is being done to address that with this proposal, because I see, it looks like efforts being made on the Sproul Road of that side of that property, but not on the gentler slope on the other side.
John, did you hear what Meg's concern was? Did you hear what her concern was?
Yes.
And Meg, how about if we call John up to address it?
Of course, thank you.
But I would rather you address the board and then John will address the board because we don't want you two to break out.
Okay.
So you heard the question. Yeah. Thanks.
Yes, I did hear the question.
Okay. Can you address Meg's concern?
As we testified, we've moved the detention basin for lot 1, and actually there was a second basin for lot 4 out from the rear property of lots 1 and 4, which abut your property. Yes, I do agree with you that water in the current state does drain across the upper portion of the lot towards your property. Any impervious coverage that we put on the property has to be collected and detained. And by relocating those detention basins, all the impervious coverage that we're generating would be detained and discharged in the opposite manner. It's going to be a challenge for us to do that. However, we recognize the concern, your concern as a neighbor. We are also trying to also show with this rendering that we will be doing a significant evergreen evergreen planting area along your entire property frontage of our property to mitigate any construction of the buildings and so forth that you would see from your property into ours. And then we can also look at seating areas in that area of the buffer that would also absorb as much surface water that's existing today we can mitigate. And we feel that we can address your concerns wholeheartedly in the subdivision land development portion.
What else, Meg?
I'm not a civil engineer, so I don't understand all that necessarily, but I will keep my fingers crossed that it works out the way it's supposed to. Another question has to do with the sewer lines being put on steep slopes. And again, I'm not an engineer, but I'm wondering if, how does that work? Do the sewer lines themselves follow the curvature of the ground? And if so, does that more vertical trajectory increase pressures at the bottom of the line? Does it increase the risk of an overflow or a rupture or anything of that nature?
Okay. What else do you have, Meg? And then we'll let John come up.
The last one about the retaining wall. I just have some concerns about safety. I realize that they're going to add some shrubs and stuff to prevent anybody falling over the side, but a 10 or 12-year-old boy is not going to be deterred by some shrubs.
And that was
Just
the
saying.
subject of many a question at the last hearing.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were unaware.
I understand.
We did not receive any notification of the last meeting. or we
But
would
you
have been
heard
here.
them address
I did.
that earlier tonight.
Okay.
But
All right, but how about the sewer? I'm done then.
you don't have to be done. I'm not rushing. But thank you. Okay. Any questions for Meg?
I have one, Ms. Heslin. And if you don't have an overall view, that's fine. But are you generally supportive of this plan, or are you generally opposed to it, or you just haven't made up your mind yet?
I disagree with some of the statements made about how it's going to be a benefit to the neighborhood. It's not going to be disruptive to the neighborhood. It's not going to change the character of the neighborhood. I think it's going to drastically change the character of the neighborhood, as have already the 2 houses that have been put up on Darby Road. It's as it was, a lovely semi-rural setting with older houses that were sort of blended in together of similar styles and so forth. And I just think this is going to be very different. So, I am not in favor. I understand that they've bought the property and it's their right to develop it in a way that that suits their goals, but since you asked me, that's my position.
Thank you. Anybody else? Jesse? Ed?
No, just a statement that if I'm correct, your property abuts the rear of lots 1 and 4, right?
Well, it's at the top of that. I can't remember which
Yes.
lots are numbered
Okay.
which.
So unfortunately, the things that we're looking at giving a relief for don't affect steep slope, so we don't really much have control over your.
No, but I wanted to bring it
I
to
appreciate that.
attention.
I just wanted to say it.
Yeah, no, I understand
We're
that.
listening for you, we just, somebody
Yeah.
might not have the power,
Well,
somebody else.
it's also my opportunity to converse with the people who are presenting the plan and to
Absolutely.
make them
Appreciate that.
aware of problems that we've experienced with the other new development.
Mm-hmm.
So, but my question about the sewer wasn't
Yeah,
answered.
I thought you might have more.
No,
So I
no.
didn't want to, okay, thank you, Meg. You can have a seat.
Okay.
John? Want to talk about the sewer? You can take the regular thing.
I'll address it in two fashions, sanitary and storm. Stormwater, as we testified, the majority of stormwater is being directed towards Sproul Road. The Sproul Road infrastructure will be examined as part of a PennDOT highway occupancy permit. If the added water that we're putting into Sproul Road, if we can't detain that in a fashion that does not overwhelm the existing capacity of the pipe, then we would have to upgrade that infrastructure as part of a PennDOT permit. Sanitary sewer, we are currently showing a collection system that comes down the center of the property. All 4 homes would tie into that main prior to exiting the property into Sproul Road. We do look at velocities, capacity of the mains, the steepness of the mains, and also the velocity of those so that it meets township and sewer authority standards with regards to maintaining proper sewer flow within those pipes.
So should this in any way adversely impact Meg and her husband's sewer flow? And I think it was the waste.
From a sanitary standpoint, I don't see how it could. I would believe that their sewer goes out to Darby Road and not to Sproul. And so I don't know how our development would impact their sanitary sewer.
Okay. Thank you. Next, come forward.
Good evening.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address, please?
Jennifer Eisenhuth, Eisenhuth, 1047 Sproul Road. Our property abuts to the back end of this. This is my house.
Where was your house, Deb?
This is my house, right here.
Oh, okay.
Adjacent to, that's, just for the record then, but make it clear, this would be to the side,
Lot 4?
Lot 4.
The right side of Exhibit
Yeah,
A.
the right side of Lot 4 when looking at Exhibit A11.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
My concerns are definitely stormwater runoff. This is a slope. There's already slopage to my property from this property. So my concern is you're putting a road in, and again, I'm not a civil engineer to know if that impacts the drainage, but having this impact, is it going to have any kind of negative impact on my property over time? Just because I do already see some kind of erosion because this kind of drops off right here. It's kind of a slope.
So where you're pointing then is, you're experiencing erosion where the applicant proposes to put the retention basin for Lot 4?
Yes, this is like a slope area right now, right here. I have a pool, and my concern is with any kind of negative erosion impacting, just coming into my property. My other concern was one that was raised already, is where is the trash being delivered? Does a trash truck have to come up? But I think that was answered if it's a private road. And my water line is one of the 3 water lines on here. So again, during construction, my water being impacted and having an adverse effect is a concern for me. That's it.
Okay, any questions? Ed?
No question.
Jess? Billy?
I'll ask you the same question I asked Ms. Hessen. We understand you have some concerns, but on balance, do you have an opinion about this that we should consider, whether it's favorable, disfavorable, or maybe not decided yet?
Yep. I am opposed to the building of 4 houses. I'm opposed to. I wouldn't necessarily, again, I to Meg Sediment. They bought the property, they have the right to develop it. But having four properties on this 3-acre lot, in my opinion, is excessive. It is, while it was abandoned, it was also a open space. There's a lot of deer, there's a lot of fox, there's a lot of wildlife that goes through there. It's not unsightly. The house that was on there, yes, it was abandoned, it's been there. We've been there since 16. So we didn't have an issue. So I would say I am opposed to 4 houses going up there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, you want to, hey, John, you want to talk about the water runoff again and the way that it might or will or won't affect Jen's property? Did you see where her house was?
Yes, sir. I'd answer it this way, that, we are proposing some changes tonight to the exhibit that we're showing. We have not fully engineered these changes and submitted that as part of a subdivision and land development. So those changes will be made, obviously if we're successful, that will be made to the subdivision and land development application that's already been submitted. And we will mitigate those measures, the existing runoff that runs to the property as well as any proposed. We are not permitted as part of a subdivision land development to discharge any stormwater to her property.
Okay. And by the way, if the application's approved, there will be a very clear condition, would be a very clear condition regarding water runoff, which we always do. And you might have heard that earlier tonight, so that it does not adversely impact the neighboring properties. Okay. Anybody else? Please come forward. You spoke last time, right?
I did.
Is it, wait, Jeff?
Walt.
Walt. There was only 2 of you. I had a 50-50 chance.
Jeff is my next door neighbor.
So you were sworn at the last hearing, but I'm going to ask you to state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Walt Fredrickson. My partner, Jim Harkins, and I own the first house on Sproul Road. This is our lot right here. So we are impacted by the development.
So what would you like to tell us that you
A couple of concerns
expressed last time, because we have 2 more cases tonight?
A couple of concerns I have. We've been in this home for 27 years, so we're familiar with the lot. It's been abandoned for probably 20 of our 27 years. My concern is with lot number 1, the maintenance of this area here adjoining our rear property. Now, we had 20 years ago, we had this landscape by a landscape architect to kind of shield us from any development. So there's a lot of trees and evergreens that currently are in this area. But my concern is maintenance of this section here. What's going to motivate the owner who lives up here to take care of all of this sliver of land that leads down the Sproul Road? I've had 27 years of contending with an absentee owner here. And in fall time, Jim and I spend easily a month blowing leaves, and a lot of the leaves really come from this property because there's been 0 maintenance. The second concern I have is the road, the driveway here. Paul alluded to the fact that there'd be some possible modifications to accommodate emergency vehicles, and I think John mentioned one of those augmentations, which is the widening of this driveway. I believe he said it's going to be 20 feet.
25.
25?
There.
Right here. And what is it currently? I would say probably 10 feet? Yeah, probably 10 feet. So it's going to be double. And then I guess as the driveway rises, and we all know how steep this property is, as the driveway rises, it narrows down to, I guess, 15. Okay, and then up here it is widened to 20 feet. The second concern I have is this retaining wall. I think it's a huge ask to go from 30 inches to 7 feet. That's a big variance in my mind. And one of the,
What do you mean by 30 inches, Walton?
I thought the variance said they're asking for an approval to go 7 feet, when right now there's a maximum 30 inches height for a retaining wall.
I'll let Jonathan come up when you're done and address that, but. it's
Yeah,
okay. So what else, Walt?
So would they be required to put a fence on top of this retaining wall? Is that a requirement of the township for safety reasons?
And
I brought up it's usually when there's a walking path, it can't be more than 30 inches before you have to have a guardrail of some sort. That was what I was bringing up. It's, in this case, that wouldn't be strictly required because there's not a walking path there. But it would be more about, general, would somebody, fall off if they were unaware of that drop off. So it would be essentially like, trying to find some balance of, finding a safety measure. So it's not, I don't think it's strictly required. It would just be, it's just been a general concern of many people throughout this case.
I mean,
and they addressed that in two ways tonight, right? They told us that the current configuration also has a large drop off, but if someone were to fall, they'd fall into Sproul Road. So this would be cut back to clear the sight line. And if someone did fall, they would fall into a buffer zone, sort of, not land on Sproul Road.
Sure.
And I recall them talking about plantings along the wall, which would prevent, like if a child was rolling down a hill or something, that would theoretically stop them from going over the wall. But I don't think we heard a commitment one way or another, whether there would be a fence on top of that wall, whether it's 30 inches or 3 feet. In some regards, a fence might be worse because if it's 3 foot high fence, and this is just my personal opinion, if it's a 3 foot high fence and a child's going to climb over it, now they have the 7 foot drop as well as the 3 foot. So,
Yeah. I guess my concern is.
Good question.
Yeah, my concern is mostly from an aesthetic standpoint. I find a 7 foot wall to be fortress-like. And if they are going to be required to then put an additional extension on top of that wall, i.e. a fence, you're talking more of a fortress-like look. I understand the clearance of this area. I've traveled this road for decades. I know how dangerous it can be. My concern would be, this is a really hazardous area. It's 35 miles an hour. Then as it comes up next to our property, Sproul Road goes to 45 miles an hour. People are zooming at 50 plus miles an hour. So if there's an accumulation of water here because of, inadequate storm sewage attention, you're going to have people speeding down here, hitting pools of water. I'm just anticipating, runoff issues when you clear this land. They've already done clearance because several weeks ago, if not months now, there were landscapers out there with chainsaws taking down a lot of brush and trees. So a lot of that has been denuded already. I think there may be some impact with, rain runoff. But that would be my concern, is just aesthetically, if it's a 30-inch variance request to now go to 7 feet, will they ultimately be required to put a wall on top of that? And I just, have issues with it. Also, the original plan had some retaining walls up here. I don't see any mention of that anymore. So I'm not sure if that's been modified. But originally, when there was a little turnaround here, they were saying for FedEx drivers, to park. The plan that I had some retaining wall structures along this area here. And I'm just wondering if that's still the case. So those are essentially my concerns.
Okay. Any questions for Walt, Jesse, Bill, Ed?
Okay.
Jessica,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jonathan? So you heard the questions. Is a fence proposed for above the retaining wall along 320?
No.
And were there retaining walls?
There still is a retaining wall. So by eliminating the turnaround zone, we were able to adjust the grading, and then we shortened the wall, but there is still a wall you can you can see it. I'm sorry, I can't zoom in, but you can see that it's still proposed in this location. There's another one proposed in this location.
It's on the plan.
It's on the plan.
Okay, thank you.
If I might ask, what's the height of that retaining wall?
Last one, what's the height of the retaining walls that we just talked about that we're close to, or adjacent to the
I
turnaround
think
area?
it goes from 2 feet to 4 at its worst,
Okay,
but it's in the side yard.
Thank you.
you're welcome. Anybody else? Any other residents of Haverford Township? Cameron, Don? Questions? Unanswered? Anything? Jess? Ed? Billy?
Nope.
Jess? No. All right, with that, we'll close the record on this case and the decision will be rendered. When's our next hearing? What's our next meeting date? June 5th?
Maybe. Right.
You're gonna be there?
Yeah, I won't. Have a full.
No, I'm gonna move it.
Yeah.
What's the one after that? 6:19?
Yeah, do we have 6:19?
I want to get the transcript before we do a decision.
Yeah. June.
Is it 19? 5 and 19?
Oh, that's Juneteenth.
Next meeting is June 5th.
And after that?
Next one would be July, and I think it might be the 19th.
I think it's early July.
17th.
I can't be here.
Sorry.
Yeah. We're, is planning here on the 12th?
No. What do we got? We have off to July 19th. Off. We'll do a special meeting. Well,
That was my question.
John, could we have the room on June 12th, do you know?
There's the June meeting, and then there's July 17th.
Right. On June 12th is planning here.
Currently, there are 2 applications on for June 5th. I don't have anything on for July.
Right, we're worried about having a full body.
I'm sorry?
We're worried about
We're not
having
gonna have a full
body
on June 5th. So,
trying to find another date, like if we could go on the 12th unless planning's here.
We could do the 12th.
can you guys, Ed, Jess, could you guys come in on the 12th?
The problem, I didn't,
We won't have a full board on the 5th. We're gonna need a full board for the decision. The next date's not until July 17th. So the room is available on 6/12. So can you guys? Sure.
8:30,
Sure.
just for this.
Yeah. Ed, you good with that?
There is a planning commission
Fine
meeting
now.
on the 12th.
What?
look, but I can't.
There's no planning.
Can't do the 12th.
All right, well, is there another night?
Let's go off the record. Take a 5-minute recess. Okay. So I'm going to announce the decision date for case Z25-19 that we just concluded the testimony on. The decision will be rendered at a meeting that we will hold here on Thursday, May 29th at 8:30 PM. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What time did you say?
8:30. So we're gonna go out of order. and take case, Catherine Ricketts' case next and come up. That's case Z25-21, Catherine Ricketts, sorry, owner of 2512 Darby Road, West Darby Road, Haverford Town, PA, DC folio number 2203-006960, who requests relief from section 182-206C9, which requires a maximum of 45% impervious surface, where 49.6% is requested in order to permit the demolition of an existing wood deck and installation of a new paver patio. And the property is located in the 3rd Ward. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Catherine Ricketts, 2512 West Darby Road in Havertown, Pennsylvania, 19083.
Okay, Catherine, please tell us a little bit about what you would like to do and why.
Sure, thank you. So I am requesting a variance for impervious coverage. I would like to tear out a deck and put in a patio. These changes to my property improve the safety, aesthetics, and functionality of my backyard. I have 3 small children, and the deck as it is now is rotting, full of splinters, and also poses difficulty exiting the driveway. It's a shared driveway, and it's pretty tight, and removing the deck will make it a lot easier to get in and out of my driveway, and also will protect my kids' feet from splinters this summer, and open up some yard space for my kids to run around. As you mentioned, the proposed plan has 49.6% impervious coverage. And I have support from my neighbors, the Graff family. Eric is here tonight in support of the project. And I also have my contractor, Steve Martin, here that can answer any specifics about the plan.
Okay, so Catherine, you probably heard us referring to exhibits in the prior cases, right? So you submitted a packet to the township with your application.
Yes.
And there are things attached to it which are not necessarily included as part of this presentation or your case, unless you specifically ask that they be.
Got it.
So just taking a quick look at your application, you don't need to attach or enter the deed as an exhibit, although Ernie tends to like that. But, so we'll do it for Ernie's sake. So, can you come up for 1 second, Catherine?
Sure.
This is your deed. So you're gonna mark that as A1. A stands for applicant. And these are just a series of photos. Oh, nope. We have photos. Overhead.
Just a whole package of pictures.
Yeah, there's a plot plan too. So we'll do all the pictures together. So we'll make this series of photos. How's that sound? This is your plot plan, right? Jeez. Yeah. But what is this? Is this a plot plan? Catherine?
Overhead, I think.
Get this one, Billy.
Call it.
Boundary and topography is there. Or.
It's fine, we can share it.
Before is a. Okay, how many of these are there? Sure.
That's gonna be A5.
Yeah, we'll do A5 and A6 because they're not attached in any way. We have a. That's all. So.
Pages was A2.
Then count them, Billy. It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's okay. We're here to help. All right, so I'm just gonna ask you to real briefly, just say A1 is a deed, A2 is a packet of pictures. What they say was 11 pages?
Yeah, I think so.
11 pages. A3 is a plot plan, A4 is a boundary and topographic survey. 5 is just identify the neighbor, letter in favor, and then you can hand it back.
All right, I'm
Full
presenting.
service, Jen. Full service. Exhibit marking.
I'm presenting a number of exhibits. A1 is the deed.
Okay.
A2 is an 11-page series of photographs, renderings of the proposal.
Okay.
A3 is a plot plan. A4 is a boundary plan. A5 is a letter of support from the neighbor with whom I share a driveway, Eric Graff. And A6 is a letter of support from the neighbor on the opposite side, Rochelle Stoiver.
Okay.
Rochelle, Rachelle, Stuiver.
Wow, never would have guessed that one. Thanks, Catherine. Okay, so now that we have these exhibits, if you told us briefly what you would like to do and why, and you're basically want to tear off this deck that's in disrepair and put in pavers, right?
Yes.
So, and the pavers are a little bigger than the deck was, or
My contractor can give specific dimensions if you'd like them.
is it close in size? Yeah, it is. I need to swear you in if you're going to talk, so.
Yes, it's close in size.
And somebody may ask, but, okay, questions? Billy?
For the record, so when you tear the deck down, you're not going to actually put the pavers directly under where the deck was, right? You're going to move a generally similarly sized patio to the, if you're looking from the back of your property towards your house, to the right of where your deck is now.
That's correct.
And otherwise, I guess you're going to put a walkway in.
Yes.
Is that right? Is it from a garage in the back of the property?
I need to look at the renderings, but
I think you'll
it's not
see
from the
pictures
garage. It is just from the driveway up to the back door.
from the driveway back to. Okay,
Yes.
I got it.
Thank you.
Is that it, Bill?
I don't have any questions.
Jessica?
The walkway that you're showing from the new patio to the driveway, is there any way that that path could be shortened by just going directly to the side of the driveway instead of going to where the driveway enlarges?
May I approach you and
Yes.
put my finger on this paper? Okay. Like this?
Correct. Correct, to shorten the path and then shorten the amount of impervious that you're adding.
I defer to you with some of these questions.
Yeah, I can.
Sure.
May I invite my contractor to swear
Sure.
in and
Come on
answer
up.
some of these questions? This is Steve Martin from Keystone Custom Decks.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I
And
do.
your full name and the capacity in which you appear, please?
Stephen Martin, Stephen, and I'm with Keystone Custom Decks.
All right, Stephen.
To address your question about if it could be cut to the side, it could be. The reason we have it this way is because they have the garage over here, and so they will most likely often be walking straight across to the garage, and so that's kind of why it was placed there. So they have a nice sidewalk to walk back and forth.
Okay, I guess if we're looking for just the minimum relief required, that would definitely cut down on the additional impervious. So is that something, Catherine, that you could live with? Is it non-tenable?
If they cut it across here.
Yeah, it is definitely the path that my children and I will be walking over and over again from the car, like when we get back from school and everything. So I would definitely prefer to keep a path there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I don't have any other questions, Bill.
Ed?
The 16-foot patio, is that the minimum? Well, how did you arrive at needing 16-foot patio? 16-foot wide. And to supplement that way is getting the dimension. Is that
From here to here.
the deck 16-foot wide or long or whatever?
No, we're definitely not trying to replace what's there with any sort of one-to-one replication. This is I think that this design was proposed by the contractor because it is flush with, are you speaking about the patio or you're speaking about the patio? right?
Patio, because the patio is what's causing the impervious surface, so it shows it 16.
Oh, from here to here.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that?
Well, yeah, the reason we want to make sure there's room on the patio to have chairs to sit around, and if we make it too small, it's going to make that too tight for them to have friends and family over to sit around and enjoy the backyard. It's not a real big patio, and so they would quickly be filled.
Yeah, I understand, okay, but how big is the current deck?
The current deck, I have the square footage. I don't know if I have the size. So the current deck is 326 square foot. And then the new patio, including the walkway, would be 352 square foot. And then that's up against the house to
But
kind
that
of,
again, I'm trying to do math in my head here, so the existing patio, the existing deck is how large?
326 square foot,
And the patio?
352.
Is there not patio outside of the deck? I'm trying to look at your photograph.
What was the question?
Is there any type of patio currently? No.
No, that's the only patio that there will be.
Okay, but so that your deck, you're adding additional impervious. So I'm not quite sure. You're adding it the whole length of the house patio, where you only the deck is not the whole length of the house.
Right. The deck would have extended straight out to the garage, and so some of the places where the deck is going to be grass because it's not over the same footprint.
Okay, so I don't understand how the deck can be smaller than the patio, because the patio is bigger. Right, and the deck is only here. So you're seeing the deck, the patio goes all the way to the driveway, except the sidewalks. You're shortening the length of it,
Right.
and you're widening.
Yeah, but there's quite a bit of place where the deck covers that will be grass now.
And when you measure the patio, are you just measuring the stone, or are you also measuring the landing at the back of the house?
Well, no, we're not. The landing is under a roof, existing roof that'll stay there, and that is 89 square feet with the steps.
Okay. Now I have a clearer understanding. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes?
Are there any permanent utilities that you're adding to the patio? Plumbing, electric, anything?
There's a gas line to the fire pit.
To the fire pit, okay.
Yeah.
And that'll meet all appropriate township regulations and codes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And you'll be pulling a permit for all this?
That's correct.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Anybody else? Billy, anything else?
No other questions. Thank you.
Jessica? Ed?
No other question.
Jesse? No. Okay, I have no questions. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you so much for considering my case.
Okay, with that, I'll ask if there's anyone present that received certified mail that wishes to testify. Anyone present that received regular mail? Any other please come forward. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Eric Graff, 2516 West Darby Road, Haverford Town, Pennsylvania, 19083.
What would you like to tell us?
All right, yeah, I'll be brief. I know you have a long evening here, so early, two points. First point is selfishly, aesthetically, it's a lot nicer for us. We both enter from the back of our homes, so this will be an upgrade from a visual perspective, and that's totally selfish. But I think to Catherine's point, in regard to the safety of her children, that deck does jut out to the driveway, so if people are coming in and out of the driveway, it is shared. There's a witness of possibly a young child running out. I have two boys that are in college now, but when they were little, they were all over the place, so we were always concerned, because it's not only her family driving in and out of the driveway, it's delivery vehicles plus ourselves. I think it provides a better flow for them to get in and out of the home. The walkway that was asked about as well helps create an output to the driveway into the garage versus into the entry point of the driveway. So that's it.
Questions for Eric? Jesse?
You're in favor?
Yes, sir.
Bill?
No questions, thank you.
No question.
Jessica?
No questions, but I did think of one more for Catherine.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Catherine, Jessica has a question for you.
Catherine,
Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
don't have any intent of putting a roof over the new patio section,
I have
correct?
no intent.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other residents of Haverford Township? With that, we'll close the record on this case, and a decision will be rendered either tonight if we're able to, which is unlikely, or at our next regularly scheduled meeting on, it's June 5th, right?
May 29th, Bob.
We'll do it May 29th.
Could do it May 12th. Okay, so if we're unable to do it tonight, we'll do it at the special meeting we just scheduled on May 29th, which would commence at 8:30 p.m. That's it. Have a good night.
Yes, thank you very much for your time.
Would I need to be present on May 29th? Okay. Thank you all so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have exhibits. Would you like to deal with them before we start, or shall we?
We'll do it on the record. I'll just read the description and call the case, Jen. Unless you need to set up a easel or anything like that. No. All right. Our next case is Z25-20, Mustafa Smith Jones, per 978 Township Line Road, Wynwood, PA, DC folio number 2208-010610, who seek relief from section 182-203B to allow a change in the use from R1A to a mixed-use development containing sports training facilities, associated office and storage, and 8 residential units on the second and third floors. Relief from section 182-203C 1236789 to allow for the mixed-use development of the parcel as indicated on the submitted plans, including minimum lot size, required side, requested 5 foot, where 15-foot minimum and 25-foot aggregate is required, and rear yard 5 foot, where a minimum of 25 foot is required, dimensions, as well as maximum height limitation, 3-story, 35 foot permitted, and 3-story, 45 foot plus minus is sought. And for maximum impervious surface ratio, 30% is permitted and 85% is sought for the R1A district, and relief from section 182-707A3A and 182-707A4 concerning the requirements of plantings surrounding parking lots adjacent to residentially zoned parcels and the dimension of paved surfaces used for off-street parking in residential districts. Property zone R1A and located in the 8th Ward. Oh, that's a mouthful.
Slow.
And that's why I say I'm not reading this whole thing again if I don't have to. How you doing, Jen?
Wonderful.
Want to end your appearance?
Sure. My name is Jennifer Bazidlo, B-A-Z-Y-D-L-O, and I am here today representing the applicant, who is the equitable owner of 978 Township Line Road. His name is Mustafa Smith Jones, and he is here with us today. If I may approach, I have a bunch of exhibits that I would like
Yes.
to provide you with.
Oh, thank you, Jen.
Physically, because I didn't want to do it now, but this is all of our application materials as Exhibit A. These are photos. These are photos. We have a simplified site plan that we understand how it's laid out. Small copies, bigger copies. I don't know what you want me to, do you want me to start handing them out or?
I mean, do you want to identify them and then hand them out one by one, or? Probably, yeah,
Okay.
because we're just gonna have to do it again.
Okay, cool. So
That'll be simple.
I'll go on the record and then we'll hand them out.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
it's better than me sitting here scratching them out all
Listen,
the
I just want to do the best way to do it.
No, appreciate it.
To the extent those are different than the applications, or
No,
it's
this is
already in
just-
Exhibit A?
This is not in Exhibit A, but there is a site plan in Exhibit A. We just did a clear with kind of the details, just to show where the building is. We have submitted, John.
Okay, cool.
Let me just go on the record and start to get.
All right, thank you, Jen.
All right. So let's, I'm just going to first identify our exhibits and then move them into the record. So Exhibit A is all of our materials that we applied for the application, with the exception of the actual plans, which you already have a copy of.
Thank you, Jen. Goodness Christ.
Sorry. That's the same as the information that we already submitted. All right, and then Exhibit B that I'm going to submit is photos of the property, as well as of Township Line and some of the surrounding properties as well. Exhibit C is a simplified site plan just showing where the building is going to be sitting on the property in terms of where the property lines are.
Thank you, Jen.
This is Exhibit A3? Exhibit C.
Exhibit D is showing the current zoning map of this area, both in Haverford Township, and it is adjacent to the city of Philadelphia, so I included a zoning map also of the zoning for the parcels across the street from it in Philadelphia County.
That's okay.
Sorry, we can share.
Oh, no, it's next.
Oh, that's. Just a few more, I apologize. So Exhibit E is excerpts from the proposed comprehensive plan that came out on April 11th of this year for the township.
Can I just interject right now?
Yeah.
So the comprehensive plan is a draft.
Correct.
What is going to be the purpose of you going into the comprehensive plan, which has not been approved by the township?
Sure. So in all of the comprehensive plans that have been proposed so far, there's an interest and a directive to develop mixed-use housing and develop housing that is transit-oriented. While we have a parcel right now that is zoned for single-family use, On several of the proposed plans, this has been identified as a parcel that meets the criteria to have a mixed-use development, as it is close to public transit. And I believe that while we have a zoning right now, and we're going to have testimony about why it hasn't been developed as a single-family home in many, many years.
And that may be, but unless you've got the owner who's going to testify, current owner, legal owner, who's going to testify, it's speculative, it's hearsay. The question about density in the township and how much enhanced density the township commissioners are going to accept, we have no idea. And in fact, I believe it is one of the reasons that the planner had to go back to the drawing board on the draft comprehensive plan. So I really don't know what kind of weight we could give it. I think it's highly speculative that we would be expected to follow anything in a draft plan at this point for this board. So, we're going to get to a relevance question very quickly in testimony on this, and I don't want to go down a road where there is any suggestion that we're putting weight on a comprehensive plan that has not been adopted by the township.
I understand all of your concerns. I would say that part of our argument is going to be that this is not a lot that is suitable for what it's zoned. And so we need to look at what else we can do with it. And I think that the proposals of the draft comprehensive plans, while maybe not, definitive in terms of the zoning going forward, the plans going forward, they are professional developers. And the recommendations and the objectives, we want to talk about how we can help enhance those objectives with our development of this parcel, because it's not suitable to be developed as it's zoned.
And you are certainly within your rights to discuss why it can't be developed under its current zoning classification, and then what other options might be there under the current zoning code, not under the draft comprehensive plan, which may or may not result in future changes to the zoning code in furtherance of that plan, but we're not there, and that's not the basis on which we can make decisions.
I understood. It's more of to put it in context than as a direct, legal standard that I'm asking you to uphold. I do have.
Thank you, Jen. Is this E or F?
Or was this? Oh, no, this was E, I'm sorry.
Yes, this is Exhibit E?
Yes, that's E, I'm sorry. And the last was just F, which is to put a whole copy of that proposed comprehensive plan into the record, just so that there's context for what I submitted in the previous exhibit. And we printed out a copy. You have the sections.
It's okay.
Okay, so that's all of the exhibits I have for now. And I would like to move them into the record if that is possible.
Okay, they're admitted, A through F.
Great.
E and F with the clarification and already previously discussed with Mr. Rhodes. But go ahead, Jen.
All right, so I just have a few opening remarks, and then I will call my witnesses, but I want to just give a context of what we're going to present to you. So we have this existing vacant parcel on Township Line Road. We're not proposing any changes to the lot dimensions. They are already there. The existing parcel is a little over 17,330 square feet. The parcel is surrounded to the left, if you're looking from Township Line, by a park, which has Cobb's Creek in it. To the right, we have City Line Pediatric Dentistry. Across the road is Philadelphia, and that is Cobb's Creek Golf Course, which is also in the process of being redeveloped. And to the rear, we have the back parcel that belongs to the owners of 12 Farrow Road. There are two sections to that parcel. There is the parcel that has the home, and then there is another sub-parcel that is in between their residential developed lot and the park.
Jen, what was the address?
11 Farrow.
Barrow.
Yep, and I do believe that neighbor is with us here today as well. So, and our portion backs up, our property backs up to the rear portion of that, the rear parcel of that property. So our proposal is brand new construction of 3 stories for mixed use. The first floor is going to be a basketball training facility with associated office space. The Mustafa is going to be the operator of that business, and it is a one-on-one, or basically one-on-one personal training for basketball, not a facility for tournaments or anything like that. In the 2 floors above, we're proposing 8 residential dwelling units, some of which will be handicap accessible. These are going to be larger units with 2 bedrooms apiece. And most notably, I wanted to say that we have changed our plans to address some of the concerns from the Planning Commission review, and there is now underground parking in addition to the parking in the front for a total of 29 spaces, including 2 ADA accessible spaces. This property is currently zoned for single-family use. Our argument is that it's not appropriate for single-family use, and we are going to have some testimony about why that is. But basically, the current owner has it for sale because he was unsuccessful in developing his plan, which was also non-single-family use. And there have been, we have people to testify that after 17 months on market, there was no offers submitted to develop a single-family home. Because we are proposing something that is, we acknowledge, radically different than a single-family home, we have generated a lot of refusals. And that is because, again, we are looking to build something that is not permitted by the zoning code, but we would argue will fit in with the character of this area and have some benefits to the community. So we intend to demonstrate that this is a sensible and highest and best use of this property. We've already talked a little bit about the comprehensive plan, so I'm not going to go too much further into that, except for note that, again, we feel that this is, if we're not going to develop this as a single-family home, there's really good reasons why it should be developed as we're proposing, and that helps to accomplish some of the goals that the township is setting out to accomplish, such as having mixed-use development and a little bit higher density near public transit lines. So we feel that this is a location where the township can make some progress in accomplishing those goals with minimum impact on existing neighborhoods. So with that, I would like to call Mustafa up to talk a little bit about his business.
Hello. How you doing, Mustafa? Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And your full name and the capacity in which you appear, please?
My name is Mustafa Smith Jones. And you said the capacity where I compare?
Yeah, like property owner?
Oh, the property of 978 Township Line Road.
You're under contract to purchase it.
Yes, I'm under contract.
Okay.
Yes. So a little bit about myself. I played college basketball at Fairleigh Dickinson, where I went on to break the school's record in 2.5 years for most threes made. After that, I went on to play professionally for a little bit before having ankle and knee surgery. And just my experience from my childhood, growing up and playing throughout college, mentors were very important in my life. I was first recruited to go to Newman-Garetti High School, and the coach there, he took me under his wing at 11 years old, and he's still a part of my life right now. From there, I moved on. Once he left coaching at the high school, I met another guy named John Hurnett. He wound up passing my senior year, but he was an NBA trainer, Reebok representative, and he just took me under his wing, told me not to worry about AAU basketball, to really focus on my skills, train with some higher level guys, college, professional. And from there, my game just took off even more. And he helped me to gain a scholarship to go play basketball. So just knowing those things and how much it impacted me, once I got hurt, I was in a very dark place. Something that you work your whole life for, you wind up losing in a flash. There's nothing you can do about it. You have to wait the 9 months that the doctor tells you to wait. In that process, kids around my neighborhood, they knew that I played. They would stop past my house, come check on me. And one of my friends was like, how would you feel about training my son? I'm like, I've never done it before. I never had a passion or a care to do it. I was only focused on one thing. But one thing I can always attest to is my mother. I had a trying time in college where I transferred before going to Fairleigh Dickinson, and they didn't have a scholarship. And she said, you never know how God can bless you. Take this opportunity. My mindset was I didn't want to take the opportunity because I didn't want her or my dad to have to pay for school. I worked hard enough to get her a scholarship. I was in a tough spot. Schools weren't looking at me after I was transferring after my first year, and I always remembered that. So once my friend asked me to train, I said, you know what, let me take this opportunity. I never know how God can bless me to help somebody else. And in that process, I've now grown a great business, touching many people, many clients from all different walks of life. And a few of them are here to testify for me as well about the work that I do with their kids. But
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Yep.
I know that we just don't want to, we want to direct some of your testimony here today. So you're now training a variety of people in
Yes.
basketball skills and mentoring them, correct?
yes,
And so right now, you don't have your own facility, correct?
no, I do not.
And so what does that look like in terms of training schedule, what you have to arrange? You know, where are you operating out of?
So as of right now, I operate out of AFC Fitness in Bala Cynwyd, and I have a good command of the schedule, but I float pretty much all day. So I start as early as 5:30 in the morning, which I did today with kids before school, and I go pretty much up until 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night every day. I operate 7 days a week just to make sure that I can give all of my clients fair chance to get time with me. I'm not a guy that does big group training. I do a lot of one-on-one training because I believe that kids need that personal development. It's like parents. You have to be there. You have to be consistent. So with me being there day in, day out, they get that. I've built bonds with not only the kids, but also the parents. And this space that we're proposing will give me more opportunity to have more access, so that way I can have a safe space for the kids to come do homework. Right now I'm operating out of a fitness center, so it's not really geared towards kids. So kids that sometimes may need to come right after school, they can't just sit around. It's pretty much in and out because there's a business going on within. This space will allow me to have a safe space. Like I said, they can come do homework, sit. If their parents can't come get them right away, they're in a safe space. They don't have to worry about anything.
And so in your new location, so that's why you went to go look for your own location, was because you really wanted to have a more stable business and more access to you for your clients.
Yes.
And have, you know, a more steady environment, right?
Yes.
But your proposal isn't, when you have the new facility, you're not planning on hiring other trainers, you're not planning on offering group classes, you're not really expanding your business, or proposing to have a steady business of what you're doing in your own location, correct?
Pretty much. I will say that some kids do thrive better with other friends or teammates around. So I do some small group, no more than 3. That's very rare. Some kids like to train and do one-on-one to really hone in on the skills and attributes that I've given them to try out and see what works. So sometimes we'll do live action things, but never more than 3 people at a time. And again, majority of it is one-on-one training at the moment.
And how do you find your clients?
Well, right now, everything is word of mouth. I don't believe in using social media to find people. I believe that if you do good work and you provide a good service, people will find you. And right now, with my space and time, I have a waiting list of over 50 people. And like I said, I service people up until 11 o'clock at night. And every day I'm having people hit me up, ask for time, ask when can they get in, can they join someone? And then I'm just like, at the moment, I'm full. And if anyone cancels or can't make it, I'll let you know. And that's pretty much how I've been operating at the moment. So there's no website, there's no advertisement on Instagram. This is just pure passion of what I've learned, that this is my true calling in life. When you have a calling, things will flow easily for you. And finding clients hasn't been a problem in my 7 years of doing this.
So you don't anticipate that changing anytime that, this business wouldn't be viable going forward, correct?
No, this business will be able to operate the same way that it's been going. And to just touch on the apartments, I know it may seem like 8 apartments is a lot, but we did 4 on each floor. One, because I didn't want people crammed, right? I wanted these spaces to be a space that people love to come home to. I live in an apartment right now. I love coming home to my space. I have 10.5-foot ceilings. It's the size of most downstairs of row homes. And I said, if I love coming home to this space, I know other people probably do too. So when we thought about the business, my realtor and my broker, they said, well, pandemic, right? Things happen. People can't pay for things. So they were like, why would a bank fund your idea if it's only strictly basketball? So that's where the idea of the apartments came in, because no matter what, during that time, people work from home, mortgages were still being paid, things of that nature.
So I just want to go back to, before we go a little bit further into the apartments, are there any other of these sort of like private training facilities in the area that you're aware of, or this would be kind of a unique business for our township and the area?
This would be very unique. This is not something that is big in Philadelphia, the main line, or any Delco surrounding area. This is something that I see a lot, mainly in southern states, because there's, just being honest, more space. There's not a lot of space in a city like Philadelphia to do something. So when this area land, I've been on this journey since 2023. I found another building. It was an old auto mechanic spot. It wasn't great. I wanted to try it. Things just didn't work out. And again, I believe that if it's supposed to work, it will flow. And it led me down a journey of just searching. And one night, February of 2024, I found this spot at like 2 a.m, just surfing on my couch, just looking on Zillow. And I reached out, and it's crazy how the universe works. I wound up reaching out, and the realtor that I reached out to, which is here today, she goes to my gym as well. So I called, I'm like, hello, I'm inquiring about 978. And she's like, wait, Mustafa, I know you. So it's just, it's funny how things work. And I felt good about the energy once I talked to her.
And so, what made you, when you saw this property, what made you think this was a good location for your proposed project here for the training facility and the apartments?
So growing up, I grew up right by St. Joe's in Winfield, and I grew up playing at the JCC, which is right down the street from it. So just knowing the opportunities that it presented, just to meet new people, different walks of life, coming from the outskirts of West Philly and Winfield to having connections with people in Penn and Lower Marion that I still know and I see today, and they're like, hey, I remember playing against you at the JCC growing up. You were good, whatever. And just giving other kids that opportunity to have that same connection, whether they're in Penn, which some of my clients do live. I train kids at Haverford High School, the Haverford School. I have a grasp of people all over that I deal with, and that's what made me really say that this parcel of land is close to Bala Cynwyd, where I'm located now, so the clientele base can still come and still get service. It's not like I'm having to rebrand and find new people. New people are great to have. I would love to be a part of the township and help the township, and just be a bright spot for kids that need help with basketball.
Great. And so I just want to go back to the apartments a little bit. When we were discussing, you are planning on living in this building as well, correct?
Yes, I plan to be a neighbor in this development.
Great. So you'll be running your business there and living in the property, correct?
Yes.
Great. And I think you were talking a little bit about this, but we have, the proposal is for, and we're going to go through this with our architect in more detail, but for, larger, really nicely sized units, are there other amenities going to be offered in the building, like a gym or like, I don't know, like meeting rooms or something like that?
Yeah, so again, this space is kind of designed off of a lot of ideas where I live now. I love to come home to my space. So there will be a gym that's available, weight room, access for residents. There will be allotted time on the court. So even though I'm running a business, I will have allotted time for, let's just say someone wants to get some shots up. I know it was therapy for me in college, going to the gym late at night. Whatever it is, there will be allotted time throughout the day or weekend for people to be able to get shots up. And there will be a balcony as well. For every apartment, there will be a space above which will have ping pong tables, just overviewing the city, a roof deck for people to access. And there will also be a club room, which is there for people who want to host events, whether it's a Friendsgiving or you just have a family gathering that you want to get together for a birthday or anything of those natures.
And the idea is basically to have apartments designed for people to want to live there, stay there, you know, not just move in for 6 months a year and move out, correct?
Yes, this is something that when people are transitioning to getting a home, their forever home, this is a spot that you can stay for a little while to get your feet under you and really make sure that you find something that's going to be worth your while.
And then, you know, and this is just your opinion, but what do you see as, you know, maybe the positive effects that this business would have to the community?
Again, servicing kids for the last 7 years, I've come to realize that not just in the inner city, but also the rural areas, the suburbs, kids tend to just get into trouble, right? So this space, again, is somewhere for kids to have an outlet. Mentorship is there for them if they need it. In the office space, I plan to have a game room where they can sit and wait, whether they're waiting for a workout or they just finished, they can stay. Again, this is not just for me to have a revolving door of just pushing people in and out. This is more of a space for kids to come learn basketball and to have camaraderie with the other kids that we're training at that time. And just to build bonds that last forever. I'm still friends with a lot of my teammates that I've gone to high school with, that we've known each other since 6 and 7 years old, and we still talk till today.
And one more really non-passionate question. How many cars do you anticipate at one time for your business to be in the parking lot?
Just one. Normally even if we do 2 or 3 in a group, there's normally a carpool where one parent will bring both kids and the other one will come pick them up. Again, another client is here who has a workout buddy for her daughter, and the dad and her coordinate how to make things operate.
And with that, I would just ask the board, I think do you have anything else you would like to add at this point? Or otherwise, we can take questions from the board.
At this moment, no, I just thank you for the consideration. It's been a pleasure to come back again. I know that's not normally something that can happen with a new project at hand, so I'm just grateful for the opportunity.
All right, so I guess up to you guys. You got some questions so we'll have someone testify about the structure of the building and everything like that. We just wanted to lay the groundwork of what the business and the commercial space would be so that you would have better context of yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Take a break? Okay.
Okay, cool.
Right. Go ahead, Jack. So, before we took an emergency recess, you had just finished testifying, Mustafa, and now I'm going to ask if the board has any questions. Jessica?
Yes. So you testified that the business is going to be mainly training kids, you know, 1-on-1, 1-on-3. But it looks from the plans like you're putting in a regulation size basketball court. Is that correct?
Yes.
I know that the township has issues finding basketball space to rent for various organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be renting to township organizations for basketball games, or is that not part of the plan?
So as far as games, there's no stance, like no seating for that. So if anything, the most I could say is possibly practices for teams in the area, just because we have additional parking underground now.
But But your plan isn't to rent it out. That's not your intention, right?
Oh, no, I thought you were asking if that's what you wanted.
No,
Oh, you don't?
what I was going to follow up and say is, would you accept a condition that you would not be renting it
Oh,
out
yeah,
for?
no, I thought that's something that you wanted me to talk about.
No,
Oh.
I just know that it's
Yeah.
a need, and so if suddenly a basketball court
Oh yeah,
appears-
no. This is solely for the people that are
Okay.
a part of my clientele.
And then what drove you to select 8 apartments as your number versus 4?
Again, I told you I've been on this journey since 2023, and the last space that I started doing plans for, it was zoned already mixed use, and we were approved for 8. So I just kind of took the idea straight from that zoning over.
Is there a financial consideration in this, like where like 8 units makes it financially viable, 4 units wouldn't, or somewhere in between?
I mean, whatever works for the township, I'm willing to make adjustments. Like I said, the 8, it wasn't like a specific thing that I was like, I need 8. It went from my last plans over to here. I still had the same concept of wanting a basketball court and just wanting to put apartments above. So that was the reason for the 8.
If you reduce the number of units, would there be any like kind of amenities that might be affected by that with the building?
The amenities will stay the same as far as the club room on, I believe, the first floor of apartments. And the roof deck will stay the same. We just would cut the building down 1. And I believe after talking with my broker that everything would still financially make sense for us to pay for the mortgage and everything on the building.
So you would be willing to take a floor off if we requested that as a condition?
If that's a request and it makes sense financially for us to still be able to pay for everything, then I'm all for it.
Okay. I don't have any other questions right now.
Ed?
No question.
Bill?
Yeah, so just a couple questions about the business. And I'm sure we can talk about apartments and we can talk about construction and other things when the architect or the engineer's here. So typically, are these sort of 1-hour sessions? Is that how you have like 50 minutes, but you block out an hour for the transition between? Just describe a little bit how you use the business, and because it will feed in a little bit to, in the future, the amount of parking and the amount of visits, and we'll get to your traffic engineer separately. So I'll save some of those. I'm just interested in how you actually run your business, how a client comes in, how long they stay, just that.
So typically it's every hour on the hour. So I will start typically after school 3 o'clock and I go straight through till 11. And again, just the clients come in, and right now we have unlimited parking at the facility I'm at. So there's no real concern, but moving to this space, I will block off some time just so people can get in and out, and there's no clutter of people trying to merge in and out at one time.
Okay, and what are the ages of your clients, or the ranges?
So I started as young as about 8 years old, novice, and I go all the way up to my college and pro guys and girls, and that's pretty much the range. I'm for any and everybody that needs help. As long as you want to learn, I'm there to help. And for the pros that come, that's why it's a full-size NBA court, just because they're bigger guys that I'm training, and we need the space for that. That's what that's for.
And so, but understand that, but so even a regulation half court wouldn't work even if you're doing one with 3 clients?
Regulation half court, that could work. I just don't know how that works with the apartments for my engineer. That's the only thing.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. And just another thing to add, because the space is 0.3 acres, about 14,000 square feet, I was like, if we have the space to put a full court, let's use the space to be optimal for everyone.
It offers better training opportunities for you
Yes.
to have. It's possible with a half court, but you're limited in what you can do with the half court, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I have no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jesse?
Well, I had the same questions about the court size, and thank you for answering those. For as far as you mentioned before, you were 7 days a week. Would you continue to be 7 days a week?
Yes, I believe, like I said, if you provide a good service and you're present for the kids, it's a full-time thing. This isn't just a hobby for me. This is the only thing that I do. I left work early again to be here. And this is my passion, that I'm here for kids that need help and want to get better in basketball.
And I imagine that not everybody wants to. I guess if somebody's going to buy the apartment on the second floor, they're going to know that there's a basketball court underneath them. I guess I'm just thinking of the people, the hours, the 5 a.m., the 11 p.m. So that might be something that you have to modify or work with the people who might purchase the apartments or rent the apartments.
So we did plan to put soundproof, I believe, wall. What was it?
He's not sorted.
Yeah.
You have to say it because he's not sorted.
Yeah, sorry about that. We did plan to put soundproofing in between the walls and the ceiling, so that way it doesn't affect anyone upstairs above.
Will there be? Are you thinking of any signage at all that would, on the road? Is that any part of the plans, or is that something that you're still thinking about? Signage on the building or signage on the road, like you might see on another commercial property.
As of right now, I don't have any plans to put a sign up or anything. This is kind of, like I said, it's just for the clientele. I'm not trying to attract a larger group to bring in more rentals or anything like that. This is just a space that will operate within and fit into the community. It will be for the community. So if kids in the area want to come train and they need a basketball trainer, I'm available for them. But this isn't to advertise to gain more traction.
And it would be by appointment, right?
Yes, by appointment, yes.
And then earlier you talked about the event space in the building. That would not be for, again, you're not planning to rent that out to the public. That would be for use of the apartment dwellers.
Yes, whoever is a tenant, it will be available for you, just so you don't have to host in your apartment.
Right. Okay. I don't have any other questions for you, Mustafa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just wanted one suggestion on the signage. You sat here and you've heard maybe some discussions. We often deal with signage as a variance, but there's sometimes signage isn't just for marketing purposes. It's for wayfinding. It's for people, particularly on City Avenue, so they don't miss the turn and then try to double back on City Avenue or add more loops around the neighborhood. So what I would suggest is that you reconsider plans for signage, maybe do enough signage that you don't need a variance, but at least something that would alert someone who's maybe the first time they're coming, they don't know where to go. And City Avenue is not the place you want to miss a turn on.
At all.
Right?
At all. Okay, I will definitely keep that in consideration.
Oh, well, that's.
I think any signage might require a variance, but Jen will check into that.
I've noted, I'm circling it, I'm starring it. We'll have an answer for you.
But you'll have to check into the regulations based on the zoning.
Yeah.
Is that it, Bill?
Yeah.
I'm going to hold my questions for Mustafa until our next hearing, because you've told me that there are people here that want to testify, and I don't want to drag them out again. No need to make everybody keep our hours.
Great. So if you're here to testify about training with Mustafa, can you just kind of stand up here so I know who's here? We're just gonna do this really quick.
All right, you're going to call them as your witnesses? Good.
Yes.
Good.
You're gonna call them by witnesses.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So whoever wants to come first can come first.
Hello, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Megan Baskerville. Do you want me to spell it? Baskerville. I'm at 137 Overbrook Parkway in Wynwood, Pennsylvania, 19096.
Go ahead, Jen.
Okay, great. Can you just tell us a little bit about your connection to Mustafa and his business? Like, how long have you been working with him? What your experience has been? Yep. My family has been with Mustafa from the start. My son is now 14, and he's been training with Mustafa for 7 years. He trains with him currently 3 times a week. My 10-year-old son has been training with Mustafa for 2 years, and he trains with him once a week. And then just really quickly, has there been any positive impact from his training? And the second question that you can answer too is also, do you think that, having his business located here, that he would be a good neighbor, that it would be a net positive for the community?
Yep, my home is sort of around the corner from this property. I drive by it on a daily basis. As far as a positive impact on both of my children, he's a trainer and a coach and also a mentor. I am a teacher, and athletics is very important to me, but so is academics. And I can catch Mustafa on a daily basis, checking in with my kids on their schooling, as well as teaching them how to do their best jump shot. So he's not only a trainer, but a mentor, and he's become, very close with my family because we see him 4 times a week as my kids work with him.
Anything else you want to add?
No, we're just here. Thank you for having us to support Mustafa. We're hoping that everything that he dreams of comes true, and he couldn't be replaced in our lives, and we're just very happy here to support him. So thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. Questions? Jess, Ed, Bill, Jesse?
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Hello.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Fitz Martin, 18 Allendale Road, Wynwood, PA, 19096.
Wait. Martin, right? We almost met outside. You were getting here.
Yeah, I was trying to run in. You
Relax,
said
relax.
take your time.
I'm stretching my legs. Was I right?
You was absolutely right.
Sorry, but, and thank you all for coming out, and it shows the level of support.
Nah, he's
That they
definitely
sat
worth it.
here this late to support you. I mean, it speaks a lot to what you mean to.
So I guess in the same kind of questions, what's your connection with Mustafa? How long have your family been involved with him? And any sort of, do you think, answer those 2 questions, sorry.
So I've been trained. My son is 14 years old, and I have a 10-year-old son who both train Mustafa twice a week. I first met Mustafa 5 years ago. This guy was offering training through an ad. So I said, you want to get my son better? He's locked in. He really wants to be better when he's in basketball, for friends and other purposes. So we're training across the gym, and I'm seeing these guys just do nothing. These guys have no clue what they're doing. It's a juggling act. And so I look across there, and I see precision, highly skilled training going on. And then I walk over to the guys in the front desk and say, who's that guy? And they gave me Mustafa's name. And that's why I called him. He fit me into his pack schedule after a while. And then that's when the magic started happening. He's been instrumental in my son getting a scholarship to high school.
Wow.
Yep, as well as many other kids. Thanks. He's always kind to him. He's pleasant. He gives him advice when he's down. Sometimes there's hard times in these kids' lives. He's always there to support them. The mental aspect is extremely important because sometimes we talk about the basketball part, but it's the impact of community that he gives. So one day my son was really upset, and he was like, and I was trying to get to him, but then Mustafa found a way to kind of find a way in there. And if it wasn't for that, sometimes there's always some sad times with the kids because they're trying to find themselves. And he's always finding ways to get through to the kids and impact the youth in the most positive way possible. He's extremely professional. He's constantly, and I've been around a bunch of trainers, and they're horrible. And he's the best I've ever seen. So that's the reason why I always feel like he's an asset, because even at the gym he's at currently, I don't feel like he's utilized as much as he could be because people don't have access to him as enough.
I mean, I think that speaks for itself. So
Yeah.
if you have anything else to add, that's great. But so all in all, your experience has been positive.
He's okay.
He's all right.
He's all right.
Any questions for Fitz, Jess, Ed, Bill,
No.
Jesse?
Thank you.
Thank you, Fitz. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address, please?
Lauren Skiera, 7845 Nixon, I'm sorry, SCIARRA.
Got it right. What's your address, Lauren?
7845 Nixon Street, Philadelphia, PA, 19128.
Go ahead, Jen.
It looks like you have some stuff to say. So why don't you go ahead and just tell us about
I
what you
wrote,
want to tell us?
I wrote notes for your questions.
Great. Okay, I can ask you then, what's your connection to Mustafa? How long have you been working with him? to know what your experience.
So my daughter Isabella, who goes by Izzy, has been training with Mustafa for the past 2.5 years. We were not looking for a trainer, but if you live, even though I live in Philadelphia in the Manayunk-Roxborough area, we have also lived in Ballackinwood before, and Izzy has been playing since she's in kindergarten. But anyone you talk to in our area, they all know Mustafa. They're like, oh, you're training with Mustafa, our kid's training with Mustafa, we want to train, we're on his waiting list. So, very popular guy. And we are blessed to be one of his clients because he is very hard to get into. He's very exclusive. A couple quick things that I just want you to know. He's a really good person. He is real. He does not beat around the bush. He will tell you if you're doing bad. He will tell you if you're doing good. He will tell you if it's not worth it. And the kids who don't show up and try, he will tell them, like, this isn't for us. So when he's working with everyone else, I think he's just very honest and very upfront, which I appreciate, his transparency. Also, you should also know that he actually cares about the kids. He doesn't have any kids that I know about.
I thought you were going to say that he knows about.
His girlfriend is here. But he always does say that he loves working with kids. And when I met a teacher tonight, when I dropped my kids off with Mustafa and the teachers at school, he has such a great relationship with him. When I pick Izzy up after or I'm dropping her off, you know, they're telling jokes, they're laughing. I am a single mom. I'm extremely protective about who my daughter is around, and I would trust Mustafa with her life, and I think every other parent would too. And I just want you to know, I don't live in the township. I do have clients over here. I'm an interior designer, and I think that he would be an excellent addition. I think he'd be a great neighbor. I think he would take in all of your kids and do wonderful things. I don't know what's going to happen with Izzy in her future. She wants to make the travel team, but if you saw videos of her playing 2.5 years ago to what Mustafa has done with her and all the other kids, completely different player. She was getting bullied when Mustafa met her. The confidence that he has instilled by basketball and just talking to her and being her friend and being her mentor, now she walks into a room, and if she knows you and she opens up to you, and even her teachers are saying, now she's, you know, the leader, and she's walking in, and she's coming home from a basketball game. She was at one tonight, which I had to miss to be here. But she'll say, oh, I cooked them tonight, you know? So from a kid who is very shy and very, you know, not unsure of herself, he has done wonderful things. So he is selective with everyone. He will be selective, I believe, with his tenants, and he follows the rules, and he makes sure you follow the rules. So I just think that this is such a great experience because it's very hard for us to find gyms, and as parents, we're paying to have Mustafa train once or twice a week with their child, and sometimes we'll get kicked off the court at AFC in Ballackinwood to a volleyball team or a pickleball, which is frustrating because we want them to have fun, but our kids are there to play basketball. So this is his dream, and I think he's turned in his career into a great thing to help all of us and our kids, and they're going to get scholarships and do wonderful things to help the community in the future. So I think everyone should be supportive.
Thank you. Any questions?
Oh,
No?
I'm sorry.
No? Jen? None? Nothing else? Thank you, Lauren. Sure. Come forward. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Garrett Hauptman, Hauptman, 39 Aberdale Road, Ballackinwood, 19004.
What was your address again, Garrett?
39 Aberdale Road in Ballackinwood. Zip is 19004.
Go ahead, Jen.
Okay, so same kind of questions. What's your connection to Mustafa? How long have you been working with him? And what have your experiences been?
So Mustafa trains both my 15-year-old daughter and my 13-year-old daughter and myself sometimes. So some of his clients are older than 50. I am one of them. I think that I would say almost exactly what all the parents have said. He is an unbelievable human being. There are very few people that I trust with my kids like I do him. And I did not choose basketball. My kids chose basketball. I have no aspirations for scholarships. They will not get them. For me and for us, it is about working hard. It is about discipline. It is about being mentored. It is about being a good person. And I can think of nobody better than him to teach them that, in all honesty. My daughter's bar mitzvah is in 2 days. I have to still memorize my part for her bar mitzvah, and I'm here because I believe in him. And you'd be lucky to have him in your community.
Well, mazel tov.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to add? Because I think that really says it all.
I think that I watch him. He does not advertise. People, they hound him because he is, from a basketball, we're talking about who he is as a human being. Basketball, in terms of coaching kids and teaching them, and I mean kids that have never played to kids that are unbelievable, it's the same focus, it's the same intensity, and he is unbelievable. But again, for me and my kids, I mean, it's great for basketball, but it's as much for who they are as people and who he is as it is for basketball.
Question? Jess? Ed? Bill?
No questions.
Jesse?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Jess?
That's all I have for tonight. I assume we'll be coming back at some point.
Oh, yeah. But you'll be probably first on your, I don't know how many cases we have for June 5th.
June 5th?
What's your schedule for June 5th?
I mean, I'm going to be here, so I'll be here.
Yeah, okay. All right, so with that, we'll continue this case to our next regularly scheduled meeting on June 5th.
Thank you. I appreciate your time tonight.
Good? These people came out and supported it.
We have minutes.
Okay. We're not adjourned. Go ahead, Jess.
Ernie circulated minutes from our May 1st meeting, and I would make a motion to approve them.
I second that.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes are accepted. Is that it? Any other matters? Ed, you shrunk. Anything else? All right, we are adjourned.